Wow. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Sorry for the delay. We'll start with roll.
Director Assad Lucas. Here. Director Battistelli. Here. Director Goldstein.
Here.
Director Marsh Holshin.
Here.
Director Potter.
Here.
All right. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Director Assad Lucas.
Aye.
Director Battistelli. Aye. Director Goldstein.
Aye.
Director Marsh Holshin.
Aye.
Director Potter.
Aye.
Okay, rise if you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I know, the flags are opposite. Okay, next we have a very special guest tonight who is going to give us a land acknowledgement. So I'd like to call on Madison Cox from STEM Launch to come up here, and Ms. Garcia Gomez is going to give her a hand. Make sure she has her microphone ready.
Delaha, hello. Adams 12 5-star schools honors and acknowledges that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Ute nations and peoples. Many different native tribes have used this land for trade, hunting, gathering, and healing. We extend our respects to our respects to elders past, present, and future, and all those who have stewarded the land and water for time immemorial. We invite others to join us in this acknowledgement to renew and reaffirm the First Nations history in Colorado and pay tribute to these traditional homelands and its people. Shanila, thank you for receiving this land acknowledgement. Shkushi Madison Cox. My name is Madison Cox, and I am the APAC Student Ambassador. I am Talawa D9 Nation in New York. What brings me joy of being a part of these tribes is learning of my ancestors and learning about the traditional ways and sharing through my jingle dress dances. I am also a member of the STEM Launch community. I am in fifth grade, and Miss Casey will be my teacher this year. What makes me proud of being a part of the STEM Launch community is the perseverance for my education and well-being, also the diversity of the community there and support for exploring and expressing the ways of my culture. Shanila, thank you again, and I'd like to wish everyone a fun and successful year.
Thank you, Maddie. All right, nice way to start the new year. We also have another nice treat tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Chris to talk about our renaming of the ESC Training Center.
Thank you, Lori. So we're here to re-honor Dr. George Bailey, who was the second superintendent in Adams 12's history. As you all may know, over our 74-year history, we've now had 7 superintendents, and Dr. Bailey was the second. I feel fortunate that he was the superintendent during most of my own education in Adams 12. I believe he was the superintendent through junior high school, and as I was reflecting on tonight, I think there was a time when I was sitting out in the audience, and Dr. Bailey was probably sitting up at a boardroom in a different building than this one, and we were begging for money to go on this trip to DC for a history competition. So it's just an honor to be sitting in the same seat that he once held and being able to honor him in a public way here tonight. So let me share a little bit more about what I believe to be true about Dr. Bailey. A lot of what I'm sharing tonight is derived from a History of Adams 12 report that was prepared by then a PhD student in the early 1990s who was going to CU Boulder's School of Education. She's now a professor of education at University of California, Irvine. It's an amazing treasure trove of our district's history, and there's quite a bit of information about Dr. Bailey in there. So in terms of Dr. Bailey, where to start? Maybe I'll give a little bit more context about why we're here tonight. Following his retirement after a period of 10 years of service in 1982, the Board of Education named the administration building that we were occupying at the time the George W. Bailey Administration Center. When I used to visit there earlier in my career, people commonly called it the Bailey Building. And at the time the board took that action, they adopted a proclamation that I have a copy of here today, and I'd like to spend some time reading it because it remains very relevant to why we're here tonight. So the resolution was, whereas it is the business of the Board of Education to provide quality education for the children of School District Number 12, Adams County, and whereas George W. Bailey guided this school district through a time of tremendous student growth, personnel and program development, and most recently declining resources from mid-year 1972 to mid-year 1982, whereas performed the duties of Chief Executive Officer of School District Number 12 in the achievement of specified goals and objectives, and whereas George W. Bailey accomplished the priorities established by the Board of Education in an exemplary manner, bringing much credit to himself, to the district and community, and whereas George W. Bailey earned the friendship, admiration, confidence, and respect of educators nationally and internationally, and whereas members of the Board of Education, in line with past practice, wish to give proper recognition to George W. Bailey for his dedication and outstanding performance during his tenure as superintendent. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby confer upon George W. Bailey the title of Superintendent Emeritus of School District Number 12, and be it resolved further that the name of the School District Administration Center be hereby renamed the George W. Bailey Administration Center for Adams 12. And that was signed by Henry Bowman, who was the president of the Board of Education at the time, for which we have another building that holds that name now. And Christine Sundberg was the first vice president of the board, someone who went on to serve as the president of this board. Wes Brown signed as secretary, who had been a huge donor to this district after his term of service. So a lot of folks who've had a profound impact on our history were part of recognizing Dr. Bailey in that way. In the early 2000s, the district moved from that former administration building, which is now the Community Reach Center building, close to I-25, close to Immaculate Heart of Mary, for those of you who may not know that once upon a time that was the Bailey Building. And in the early 2000s, we moved here, and leadership at the time felt like it was important to name this new building the Education Support Center, to talk about the focus within this building of supporting education of students from throughout the district. Unfortunately, there wasn't action taken at that time to recognize Dr. Bailey's contributions to the district, and that came to my attention a number of years ago when our former school board member, Kathy Plomer, raised it to me. We started to take some steps before the pandemic to find a different way to honor Dr. Bailey, and then the pandemic hit, and that was slowed down for a number of years. So we're glad to be here tonight to dedicate this space in which the Board of Education meets and in which members of our community, our staff, and frankly from throughout the state of Colorado often gather to engage in learning, whether it's how to teach literacy better and more effectively to young students, how to identify students who are at risk of suicide or mental health challenges and respond appropriately, how to deal with student safety issues and threats. All of that happens from members of our district and from throughout our state in this space that we are now going to call the George W. Bailey Learning Center. We're honored to have a number of Dr. Bailey's family members here today, including a number of his children. Would you be willing to stand so that we could appreciate you all? So if you're a child of Dr. Bailey, could you stand? Have a couple of them present. And I know at least one of them journeyed from Cheyenne to come down here. I'm not sure where the son came from. Laramie, so you're both up in Wyoming. It's good to have you here. We have a couple of, at least a couple of grandchildren here. Could you also stand if you're a grandchild of Dr. Bailey? And then I believe we have a couple of great-grandchildren who are currently students in our district at Coyote Ridge and Rocky Top. Could you please stand? So let's share a little bit about, more about Dr. Bailey while we're all gathered here. Part of the reason why I am expecting that a couple of the children are living in Wyoming is that Dr. Bailey also had some time in Wyoming as part of his professional journey. So he had been a superintendent in 3 districts in Nebraska earlier in his career, in Bellevue, Hebron, and Bruning, and then he served as the superintendent in Cheyenne, and also served as an associate professor of education at the University of Wyoming in Laramie. When I look at Dr. Bailey's contributions to the district, I think there are 3 very notable things that were accomplishments during his tenure, beyond just dealing with the massive growth that was going on in our community at the time. And I'll highlight that a little bit more as we go. But thematically, I would describe one of the important contributions that Dr. Bailey made was ushering in an era of accountability into Adams 12 and being part of that movement in our state and our country. Last summer, I did a kind of a hokey presentation at our district administrative team, beginning of the year kickoff, premised around the Taylor Swift Eras Tour. And so we talked about the various eras in Adams 12, and one of the eras was the Dr. Bailey era that I captioned the beginning of the accountability era. And that's because from the very time he stepped into the role, it was important for him that we have accountability to our public. One of the quotes I've seen was that Dr. Bailey said, "If education is to retain any credibility with the general public, we must define clearly what students should know in terms of instructional objectives, and we must make those objectives public and measurable." And that's really the beginning of having standards-based education systems, assessments that measure how well we're doing, and then public accountability for those outcomes. Another piece that Dr. Bailey was well recognized for, both in our state and throughout the country, was his focus on management by objectives. And there was a lot of focus during his tenure on setting goals, specific goals that we need to achieve at his level, all the way through administration, for principals and assistant principals to do the same, and for teachers then to report out how well we were doing in meeting those objectives and goals to parents. And so management by objectives, I'll talk more about some of the recognitions that we received and that Dr. Bailey received because of that work. And then finally, I would say thematically, he ushered in, before we called it this, the concept of policy governance. Policy governance is the way that this Board of Education and many in our state currently work, where the board delegates a lot of the day-to-day responsibilities to the superintendent, and they ask that we achieve certain outcomes and that we not utilize certain means like breaking the law or going into the red on our budget to accomplish those objectives, but they otherwise aren't involved in day-to-day affairs. And that was a fairly uncommon practice back in the 1970s when Dr. Bailey came. But part of what our history indicates is when he came to Adams 12, he had a management agreement, unusual at the time, which clearly defined who was responsible for what. He pledged to implement a management by objective system within 3 years, and the board pledged to limit its activities to legislative and judicial policy matters. One of the things that it goes on to say that makes me smile was that Dr. Bailey was given authority over the contracts and salaries of administrators, which he pointed out builds loyalty in a hurry. So that always puts a smile on my face. And during his tenure, because of those practices and because of really strong leadership, there were a lot of things that were accomplished. Some of the things I've noted from that history is that we added 8 schools in the 10 years that he was here, so nearly a new school every single year during his tenure. That in 1975, Adams 12 was one of 12 school districts in the nation that the United States Department of Education recognized as a leader in performance-based management systems. In 1976, again, the U.S. Department of Education recognized Adams 12 as one of 16 school districts in the country with a superior reading program, and that was then distributed nationwide. The Colorado Department of Education recognized Adams 12 during his tenure for its outstanding energy conservation program. In 1978 to 1979, we were one of 13 school districts in the United States to get a national grant to support gifted and talented education, which was one of Dr. Bailey's areas of expertise and passion. During his tenure, we passed 2 bond measures, one in 1974 and one in 1978. The one in 1974 was for $29 million, and the one in 1978 was for $47 million. I'll just say that your money went a lot further back in those days. The report indicates that the 78 measure allowed us to build 3 new elementary schools, 2 junior highs, and a high school for $47 million. Back in 2016, that bond measure allowed us to build Thunder Vista K-8 at a cost of $45 million alone for 1 school. So things have definitely changed. During his tenure, we started up vocational education, which we now call career and technical education, down at the Thornton High School campus, and that later was separately named as the Bowman Technical Education Campus, and there were 11 programs serving 750 students by the time we got to 1980. Obviously, quite a bit that was accomplished during Dr. Bailey's tenure, and so it's really a pleasure to be here tonight to re-honor him, to dedicate this space in recognition of all of what he contributed to this community. We have this plaque that will soon be displayed outside of this meeting space that we're in to recognize his contributions, and there will be nicer lettering than what we have outside right now, because we had some metal letters that we were going to add outside as you walk through the vestibule of this building into the space. But unfortunately, the vendor that we were buying the letters from had a fire last week, and those letters were damaged and melted, and so we're doing a do-over on that. But it will be nice to have those letters permanently affixed, and for everyone who enters into the space to know more about Dr. Bailey, what he's done to set this district up for success, and the commitment that he started to having excellence in Adams 12. So, board members, it's my pleasure to invite you to come down and to stand with members of the family and do some pictures along with the plaque that we're going to be posting here very soon. You bet. Jenny, and I think her last name I've got written somewhere. It's different than what I've just described. It starts with an S.
I've seen her before. You're rocking it.
I'll just conclude by saying that I know some members of the Bailey family obviously have traveled down from Wyoming. Jenny, one of the grandchildren, is an educator in the system. The great-grandkids have school tomorrow, so if you feel like you need to exit, this is probably a long meeting. You probably know that from what your dad or your grandpa, your great-grandpa may have relayed, so feel free to go on home and travel safe. Thanks very much.
right. Okay. No, no, no. Oh, wait. I bet. Thank you for coming.
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, on to superintendent update.
So I gave you all a fairly long update and work session, so I am not going to add anything further for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Board of Education comments, recognition awards, and vision. We'll start with Director Potter.
Thank you, President Goldstein. I am excited to be back to the new school year, excited to see all the friendly faces. I think we all, or most of us, Lori and Spirit, had the opportunity to attend the 5-star school district-wide kickoff, and it was just such a heartwarming thing to see everyone kind of come together and celebrate the beginning of the school year, and it was really special and something that I hope that we can do again. Maybe we can install some like fans or some misters or something next time, but I really appreciate that all of our staff made it a priority to be there, but also our leadership made it a priority to bring everyone together and encourage them and motivate them and to send them into the school year with just so much positivity and love for what they do. I think it's really easy to get burnt out and kind of dread going back to work after a long, wonderful summer, but it was just fabulous. And I am so honored to know all of you guys that put it all together and make it happen. Other than that, it's just been fun seeing all the kids' faces, having my own kids go back to school. It's the first time in 18 years that I don't have a single kid at home with me. So it's a little odd, but my house has never been more clean or quiet. It's kind of nice. So again, I'm excited to see all the new things that we are going to be doing this year, all of the new friendly faces of students and staff and everyone in between. So thank you again, staff, for making the 5-star thing happen.
Thank you. Director Marsh Holston.
Thank you. I just want to say welcome back to everyone, and I hope you have a great start of the school year. I have 2 kids in 2 separate schools, starting new schools, so I have a lot of, as a kindergarten mom, I have a lot of anxiety, but just transitioning schools is also anxious. So thinking of everyone this week, and our staff has been doing an amazing job. Director Potter and I attended with Mr. Grodowski the State of the City from Westminster, and that was a great event to hear an update of what's happening there. And I missed the flag football game, but I'm excited to start getting out to sports, so thanks.
Thank you. Director Battistelli.
I attended quite a few things. I went to CASA, had a volunteer appreciation event, and CASA, in case you're not aware, they train people to become court-appointed special advocates. Ironically enough, Alexis and I have both considered volunteering for that. If you don't know what a court-appointed special advocate is, they represent at-risk children in the criminal justice system or the court system, not necessarily criminal justice, but what they do is they give voice to those kids, and they operate as that kid's, they listen to that kid and they reflect that kid's desires and values in the court system. So it's really important. They do have a raffle going on right now, so if you wanted to look them up and see what they're up to, Adams County CASA. So I went to that. The next thing I did is I went to the Back to School Bash, where a lot of kids, I think it was around, 3,000, 4,000 kids got backpacks with supplies, and it's wonderful to see kids so excited to get the materials they need for learning, and it was great to see kids really thrilled when they were able to get the butterfly backpack or the Spider-Man backpack or whatever they needed to feel confident in their learning space, and I loved that. I also attended the 5-star staff kickoff, and like Courtney said, it was very hot, but people had wonderful attitudes. It was great to be there in community with everyone, and I just really thank everyone for coming, showing up, and being eager to get the year started. I want to give a special thank you to OIT, who have been battling some computer issues the past couple of days. And I decided I want to do this because I think sometimes with our OIT folks that there's a lot going on in the background that we're not aware of and that we don't appreciate because it's not terribly visible and we don't see it at work. But I can guarantee you that the OIT team has been working around the clock the past 2 days to try to get the minor technical issue going on right now addressed, and I just felt it was a great opportunity to say this is what they do all the time, and they do wonderful work. So, thank you.
Thank you. Director Assad Lucas.
Good evening, and thanks for being here. Welcome back. So yeah, it's been an exciting week. I have 4 kids in all 3 levels now. I have a senior all the way down to a kindergartner. And towards the end of last year, especially in IBS meetings, I was counting down to kindergarten. And then Shannon West, the principal at Thornton Hill, just reminded me how I'm going to have one child who is going to be starting all of his first verse and one child who will have all of her last verse. And I wasn't as excited for August to get here anymore. But it's been a great start. Much more smooth than we had anticipated. So I just want to say thanks to all of our staff that makes a smooth transition for all of our students a possibility to help them start off strong. So some of the events we've been to is Back to School Bash, and it's just an amazing event. I really appreciate our staff who developed such strong community partnerships to make this event successful. Again, just another example of making sure our students have a strong start. The 5-star staff kickoff has mentioned, and all the wonderful things have already been said, but one thing that I would really like to add is how Marie McKenzie knows how to bring the energy. She was just fun. It was a fun start, and just brought the energy up so much. And what I really appreciate about the theme of the 5-star staff kickoff is that we are not individual schools, but one district. And I think that's a really powerful message, that in order for one area of our district to be successful, we all have to be in it. So it was a really great event. I got to attend the Independence Academy ribbon cutting, which was just a wonderful, wonderful event. It's a beautiful building. And a lot of planning, a lot of work went into that building. And again, just a theme that I really stepped away from is how much effort and thoughtfulness went into it to show. So when kids walked in, they knew they mattered. They knew that they were thought of and that the place where they go to learn is meaningful. And a lot of thought was put into it for them. And if you're not aware of Independence Academy, it's our school that serves our highly emotional needs students. And a lot of great work goes into that school and great staff. Attended the back to school events. I attended a few different schools where I talked about Blueprint to parents, got some great feedback. And then this morning, attended the Adams 12 Education Foundation Board Retreat. And again, if you're not familiar with our 5-Star Education Foundation, definitely learn. They do so much to help support our district and give so much to help, again, the success of students and just providing things for the district that we might not be able to, or gaps, or fill gaps. So it's a wonderful foundation. And then lastly, attended the first sanctioned flag football game in Colorado on Saturday. And so yeah, it was a really exciting time and excited to attend more.
And who won?
It's the first year. So,
Where's your North Glen shirt?
well, I we'll tally. Let's tally. At the end of it. No, it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to continue, and we have other Thornton North Glen games coming up. So it'll be a fun little competition.
Yeah, we like to have a little fun with the rivalry.
So, yeah. So again, thanks for everyone for being here tonight and giving your time. And thanks to all our educators and our staff and our district employees that have shown up to give their 110% to make sure that our kids are off to a strong start. So, thanks.
Thank you. Well, those of you that know me know that I had a really wild summer. I took a couple of big vacations and I traveled very far, but and I had some great family events too. So it was just a great summer. But I was home for 2 days in July, where I got to make a video that was shown at the Back to School Bash, and I was really sad to miss. I really was. But it sounds like it was wonderful, and I promise next year I'll make it. As far as from an educational perspective, I really did experience a lot of things. I was in Peru for part of this time, and just learning about the culture there, and seeing, that we were in some places where the kids, it's winter there, so the kids were coming back from their winter break, but watching some of the kids in some of the villages going to school in their little uniforms, and they all just go down the hill together to the school, and they come back together. It was just really kind of cool. And another thing I did was I was in my hometown of Sioux Falls, and I drove by my high school that I graduated from a long time ago. And I thought, I'd love to go in there. And so I found out who the principal was. I emailed her, and she said, yeah, come on in. She had somebody give me a tour, and there were parts of the building that had been added on since the many, many years ago that I graduated. But a lot of it, was pretty much the same. And the funnest thing was that I walked down the athletic hall, and they had all the team pictures on the wall from all the years. And there were the team pictures from when I was on the cross-country team back in the decades ago. And I had a different color hair back then. And it was really kind of cool. And then from an educational standpoint, I'm back and I'm ready to roll. And I got to attend the Adams County Attendance Initiative breakfast this morning. It's a focus that we really need to hone in on, is making sure that we get our kids to school. And it's not just a matter of getting our kids to school, but getting them wanting to come to school. And so we heard from some very cool people this morning, a senator, a judge, people that work in that mental health space. And so I was there with a couple of other folks from the district, and they've got some great ideas of how they want to move forward. So that is my report. Moving on to public comment.
Good evening. The board welcomes public comment to learn about the preferences and concerns of the Adams 12 5-star community. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Please use the microphone and state your name and city of residence before beginning your comments. Please give any handouts or information you would like to share with the board to Lee Coca here to my right. Speakers will be prompted with this sign when you have 30 seconds remaining. Please begin to wrap up your comments at that time. Speakers will be informed when time has expired. Please end your comments at that time. Our first speaker is Thomas Scoville.
Evening. I'll give you a few minutes to rearrange the flags if you care to do that. This is a case, if you can get it right 100 times in a row, the one times you don't, somebody's going to notice. Thank you. If you wouldn't mind restarting the clock, I would appreciate it. Did you enjoy the Olympics as much as I did? I did, except for a part about the male boxer knocking the crap out of a female. Fortunately, she had the good sense to leave the bout early. much like an abused wife leaving a marriage. Let's keep Y chromosomes out of female sports. Courts are helping. And the Supreme Court just ordered the Kamala regime to suspend their misinterpretation of Title IX. That's progress. Meanwhile, 27J is being sued for concealing from parents its efforts to gender transition students. I hope that's a line that you stay out of. Elsewhere, Thornton wants to build an ill-conceived subsidized housing project right across the street. This property is not, nor will it ever be taxed. Mindful of superintendent's comments a few months ago on the paucity of commercial property in our tax base, please oppose this project. Because one of the reasons it's built, your parking lot is going to be filled with cars from over there because there's just not enough parking thanks to a car-hating legislature. This shows our high cost of living, such as prompted Kamala to push back on price gouging with a promise to impose Stalin-esque price controls. She should start right here in Adams County with Adams 12, because taxes are the price of government. And if ever there was a case of gouging, it's right here, right now. Even the governor thinks things are out of whack, and that's why we're having a special session next week to deal with it. So please table your plans to raise taxes and sell more bonds until we see what happens in the special legislature, and until we know whether we get communism or Maganomics. Finally, Comrade Goldstein, please pull up the resolution I sent to you in April and declare a Taxpayer Appreciation Day. Without them, you and your union would not be here. Please do not keep your love of taxpayers a secret. Obviously, the performance of most taxpayers is a lot better than yours. In fact, my performance as a taxpayer is perfect. I pay what I owe, I pay it on time, and I'm not alone. Give us some appreciation. Your performance is not so hot. You're struggling, and many students are performing well below standards.
Sir, your time has expired.
You all need to do lots better. Thank you.
I would like to correct you that the correct pronunciation of my name is Goldstein. We say it about 10 times a meeting, and I think you know that. Thank you.
Being a three-year student of German, I was taught to pronounce the word S-T-E-I-N each time.
As I said, my family's name is Goldstein. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brandon Figliolino.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Figliolino, and I am here tonight as a representative of the Regional Transportation District, which most people know us as RTD. I'm excited to share with you this evening that RTD's Board of Directors has recently approved making our Zero Fare for Youth program permanent. This means that all individuals ages 19 years of age and younger are eligible to ride buses and trains operated by RTD for no cost, including your students. Creating an opportunity to ride transit at no cost eliminates barriers to education and employment, while also helping families save money on gas and vehicle expenses. And so as students return to school, RTD is excited to partner with Adams 12 to share information about this program with students and parents. You can learn more about this program and download our toolkit by visiting our website, rtd-denver.com. Thank you so much for your time and your service to our community.
Thank you.
Brandon, quick question on that. So would a student need to have like an ID, a student ID, to be able to get on the bus, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So we are encouraging our middle school and high school students to bring their student IDs, just so that way it's obvious that they are part of the 19 and younger crowd. Thank you so much.
Okay, our next speaker is Ellie Bateman.
Thank you, okay. My name is Elle Bateman. I'm a resident of Thornton, Colorado, and I'm a senior at Mountain Range High School, and I'm here to speak to you about career tech ed classes and why they're some of the most important programs offered within Adams 12. CTE classes take students beyond the confines of an average classroom. I myself have found my true passion for what I want to do within the High School of Business. Thanks to the CTE program only offered at Mountain Range and Adams 12, I've gained a plethora of soft skills that can be applied to almost any career I choose to go into. Thanks to High School of Business, I've earned college credits in business, economics, marketing, finance, project management, and business strategies. Not only that, but I've earned certificates in project management and small business entrepreneurship. And did I mention that thanks to the investments and time put into this program, I did not have to pay for any of these credits or certificates and will be able to graduate college early, as well with hundreds of other high school students. But most importantly, CTE classes go beyond the dual credit and soft skills. They put students at an advantage against the real world and give them a unique head start. When I first entered Mountain Range, like most high schoolers, I had no clue what I was going to do after high school, and if it weren't for High School of Business, I would still have no clue and would probably be panicking right now as I begin my college admissions process. In order to graduate High School of Business, students must complete an internship. I thought long and hard about what I wanted to discover, and after lots of research, guidance, and support, I landed on broadcast journalism. This past spring, I got to intern for Colorado's largest news outlet down in Denver, 9 News. I spent a lot of time asking questions and observing, and after I had completed my internship, I knew broadcast journalism was the career for me. I was completely captivated by the world of media that I was momentarily a part of. It was a one-of-a-kind observation that I was very lucky to be a part of. I was able to get real-world experience in a field that interested me, and that experience allowed me to fully confirm that broadcast journalism is the path for me. As I began touring colleges, I realized that the internship I got at 9 News as a junior in high school is work experience that college students are dying to get their hands on before they are left to the real world. That is the kind of unique advantage that CTE classes give their students. I never would have had that unique experience if it weren't for High School Business, let alone walk out of high school knowing exactly where I want to study, what I want to study, and what kind of career I want to pursue. It's important to remember that CTE classes open doors never thought to be possible for all kinds of students. They're excellent ways for high schools to make sure that their students are career and college ready right out of high school because they mold excellent students in all different respects. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Abid Faridi.
Hello, my name is Abid Faridi. I am a high school senior at Northglenn High School. In these past 3 years, coming on to 4 years, I have gotten many amazing experiences, such as being interviewed for 9 News from last year's aerospace engineering, to making a Connect 4 board for the vision impaired, which allowed my team to share this cost-effective board to an organization who helps the vision impaired. This allowed many schools to actually take our CAD file and help their vision impaired people have fun. For what will be 3 years this year, I've been a part of the architecture, construction, and engineering program that has partnered with Mortensen Construction. This program allowed me to go through each step that any professional building a building goes through. So I have designed a library, and I've designed the extension to the C terminal of the Denver airport. This program allowed me to also get a 4-week internship to Martin & Martin consulting firm. So this past summer, I have been working with the Martin & Martin people to learn about civil and structural engineering and how they use it in the day-to-day. I was also tasked with helping create different sites for the firm, which was very easy for me because I learned a bunch of CAD and structural engineering due to the engineering pathway I've been doing for 4 years now. The engineering pathway has allowed me at North Glen High School to not only expand my horizon with engineering and the different disciplines from electrical all the way to aerospace engineering, but has also given me the experiences to excel in the professional industry of engineering. Thank you.
Martin Martin is a company very close to me. My husband works there. I don't know if you worked with him or not, but yeah. What projects did you work on?
So I actually made, for my first 2 weeks, I did structural engineering. So I made a canopy that's around in Colorado. I forgot the exact location, and then the second 2 weeks following that, for civil engineering, I actually made a gas station, but it's renewable, so it has hydrogen fuel cells and electrical for, I think it's up in the mountains. It's an area that they're actually constructing currently in 2025. Yeah.
Neat. Well, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is, sorry, I'm probably going to get the name wrong, Lucas Dubaj. Sorry.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Members of the board, good evening. My name is Lucas Dubai. I'm a resident of Thornton. I'm here tonight to advocate expanding career and technical education programs through the Blueprint program. I represent M.A. Mortensen, a construction management and general contracting community partner, and ACE Mentoring of Colorado, a program connecting high school students, such as the one that you just heard from, with industry professionals in architecture, construction, and engineering. Additionally, I speak as a parent of a new Adams 12 kindergartner who just recently started at STEM Lab as well. I've worked closely with North Glen High School over the past few years, introducing dozens of students to our ACE mentoring program. This initiative emphasizes workforce development and provides valuable opportunities for students while addressing the critical skills gap in our industries. Expanding the CTE program further offers numerous benefits for students, employers, and the wider community. The skills gap is a pressing issue in our sector today. By integrating CTE programs into middle schools, we can start aligning education with job market needs earlier. This proactive approach ensures students are trained in high-demand areas, effectively bridging the skills gap and creating a robust talent pipeline for the future. Employers are looking for candidates with practical skills and core competencies. CTE programs focus on hands-on experience that equip students with these vital skills. Introducing CTE at the middle school level means students can build a strong foundation early, making them more marketable to employers as they enter the workforce. Middle school is a critical time for students to explore different career paths. CTE programs provide them with the exposure they need to make informed decisions about their future. This early exploration fosters greater job satisfaction and career longevity. Additionally, CTE encourages critical thinking and problem solving, cultivating an innovative mindset beneficial for both individual careers and the industries they will follow into. I've seen firsthand the incredible potential of the students in our district through programs like ACE. This experience has shown my wife and me the promising opportunities that lie ahead for our son and his peers. Investing in the future pipeline for tomorrow's professionals by providing quality programs and facilities starts today. Your support in expanding CTE into middle schools will enrich the lives of students, faculty, and staff within our district. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your guys' continued expansion of all these programs and supporting the Blueprint program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Gabriel Alvarez Rivas.
Good evening. My name is Gabriel Alvarez Rivas. I'm a graduate from Thornton High School. Man, this is my first time. I'm kind of nervous. I don't know. So, the CTE that I took during high school put my foot in the door with Caliber Collision. Honestly, when I came in high school, I didn't know what I was doing. What I was thinking. What was I gonna do for the next 4 years? What's my option for college? What am I doing? And the CTE of auto body and collision helped me, find my love for cars and stuff. And if it wasn't for them, I mean, I don't know where I would be at right now. Honestly, if it wasn't for them, I don't know what to say. I'm really grateful for the opportunity that Auto Body has given me, Bowman especially. Honestly, I'm lost for words right now. That's pretty much, I don't know what else to say.
Thank you. You said it.
Our next speaker is Dina Nightingale.
I'm Dina Nightingale. I am the GM at Caliber Collision that actually employs Gabe. I really love this program that Bowman and Adams County 12 is, or sorry, not 12, but it is 12. I'm nervous, sorry. That it gives their students the opportunity to actually go to school, earn credit for the program that they are in, and also be able to make money while they're learning the product that they're going forward to make their careers. I am a wife of my husband is also an auto body tech. He graduated from Stanley Lake, which companied with Warren Tech many, many years ago. And he was in the same type of program, and it provided my family stability and opportunity to be where we are now. And looking at Gabe at 19 years old, and he's already got his foot in the door for a career path, and it's an amazing career path. He will be able to provide for his family and do many more things as he goes forward. And he's so far above a lot of his peers right now moving forward with his career. And not only that, but he got to learn through Caliber, through our TAPS program, and graduate through that and not have to pay for an education to learn the craft that he is going to move forward in. So it's a great program. I'm really glad to see it back in schools, because I think some of it had went away for a few decades. It seemed like we were getting away from trades in high schools and stuff like that. So it's a great opportunity for the students moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Justin Bochetto.
My name is Justin Bochetto. I live in Thornton. And most of my speech has already been mentioned, actually. As adults, all of us have multiples of one or two stories. I wish I had the opportunity, and I'm glad I had the opportunity. My freshman year, I met the most important teacher in my life, Mr. Whitehorn. He introduced me to CAD software because I was an advanced math student who did not get along with the AP math teacher. By the time I was a sophomore, I was paired up with a group of seniors doing a BattleBots competition because he had arranged for his high school class to do BattleBots. By the time I was a junior, I was competing in state for the Technology Students Association, where I took third in CAD. I then went on to compete in nationals, where I couldn't do CAD, but I did many other activities. Those were some of the greatest experiences of my life. They also gave me quite a bit of direction going forward and what I wanted to do. By the time I was a senior, I was trying to get my hands on anything complicated I could find to draw, among many other activities I did as a senior. When I graduated high school, I went back that summer to go let them know that I had found a college. I was going to college, what I was going to do, say goodbye to my teachers. And I discovered he had acquired a 3D printer, something I'd been asking him for years. He also acquired a laser engraving printer and a poster board printer, like a 6-foot wide printer. I got really upset at first until later I learned he managed to get that 3D printer using my entire high school portfolio because I was the first CAD student he had. He had given me a trial software of CAD in my freshman year. My freshman portfolio allowed him to buy CAD for the entire class and his entire computer lab. By the time I was a senior, he was pitching to get a $150,000 school printer. Now, that creates opportunity for other students. But what I've come to realize is the only reason that any of that was possible is because he was a teacher who was passionate about what he did. He had the salary and the budget and the funding to keep his job, stay at his job, become really good at his job. He had the facilities to support what he did for his students, and he had the funding for the programs he wanted to give them. So as a community member and as a father, I think it's our job to enable every child that goes through our school system the ability to leave it with, I'm glad I had the opportunity.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Melissa Ryan.
All right, I'm Melissa Ryan. I'm a North Glen resident, mother of 2 current Adams 12 students. I just came here today with inquiries regarding the blueprint proposal. A lot of the items I full-heartedly agree with, and I think the district is in desperate need of building interior and exterior upgrades and safety improvements and the nutritional upgrades and the CTE programs. So I wanted to come here and say that. My only hesitation as a voter and mother with this is I came here last year speaking to you guys about my concerns with Wood Glen Elementary and the mistreatment of several of the teachers that I witnessed firsthand by the administration placed at that school. I keep hearing in the proposal, we're losing good teachers because they're underpaid. We can't keep up with the competitive wages with the other school districts. I would like for you guys to keep in mind that that's not the only issue. I have a lot of teacher friends that have left the district because they felt they were not respected and not valued and mistreated. So I do agree with this proposal. I think it is desperately needed. But the wording in that regards, I do feel like needs to be corrected. Because unfortunately, I understand that the teachers who are certified, their raises are lumped in with the administrative side for the raises that will be going through. These teachers are worthy of raises. We need to keep good quality teachers. But I also think that they deserve to be respected, listened to, and heard because they're not. And when parents are coming forward and speaking, we're being disregarded. I had one member this summer reach out to me about my concerns with the way that teachers are treated, and that is it. I had a meeting back in April with Bo Fobert and Toby Bashoff. They said they would follow up, and I've yet to hear anything from them. It has been complete crickets. So I don't feel like as a parent and a voter that my concerns are being listened to. I'm voting with my heart for what's good for my children, but I need you guys to listen to the parents and do what is right for our teachers. Because we have some amazing teachers and we are going to keep losing them to other districts because the administration is not listening to them. And that's what I came here to say, because I do feel like Adams 12 has room for improvement. And we're gonna keep, like I said, we're just gonna lose these teachers to other districts because they're not being listened to, they're not being heard, they're not being respected. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Marty Gutierrez.
That goes up. Work with so many microphones, you'd figure I know how to work one. Hello, my name is Marty Gutierrez, and I am a resident of North Glen. I've been a resident of Adams 12 for 37 years, and this is my 30th year teaching math in the district. I actually did my student teaching the year before that at Thornton High School, and I did my practicum work for 2 years before that at Huron Middle School and North Glen High School. I've lived for 26 years within the attendance area that my students live in. I live right in between Vantage Point and Westview Elementary. My older daughter is a graduate of Legacy High School, and my younger daughter just began her freshman year at North Glen High School. So the reason I chose to teach in Adams 12 is because I value the community I live in. I'm here tonight to speak in support of a bond and mill levy override for our district. I believe we need to provide new and updated schools for the children in Adams 12. It's been unfortunate the students have lost many CTE opportunities that existed in middle schools during the first half of my career. I would love to have facilities where these classes can be expanded into our middle schools and in our elementary schools. In my 30 years of teaching in Adams 12, I've experienced working in a building with a failing roof, one where there were problems with sewer gas backing up into the building, one where classrooms had textbooks that were over 20 years old. I also spent my entire 8-year tenure at Huron Middle School teaching in a mobile behind it. I never worked inside of that building. This summer, the day that summer started, I went into my school. I moved into a new classroom. I took tools and hardware and had to put the teacher's desk back together. It was just barely standing up. At the start of this year, our custodians had to scramble all over the school to make sure they had enough chairs to fit in classrooms. And I'm in one of the newer buildings in the district. In addition, it's going to be difficult or impossible to staff these facilities that are built and updated through the bond if we don't honor teachers. I had a younger teacher approach me just last week and tell me that she's considering leaving Adams 12 because she could make $10,000 more in the district she lives in, which is neighboring. If a mill is not passed, we will most likely need to reduce staff in our buildings and increase class sizes at all levels. We will also have to look at reducing programs that are offered throughout the district. I believe in the Adams 12 community, and as I approach the end of my teaching career, I want to do everything in my power to make sure that our most valuable resource has the opportunity to grow and to flourish in our schools. I ask that the Adams 12 Board of Education move forward with the bond and mill election this fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Our next speaker is Shannon Bird.
Good evening, Adams 12 Board of Education Superintendent Godowski. I'm Shannon Bird. It is just an honor, I want to say, an honor to be here to present to you and speak with you tonight as a member of the public. I'm a resident of Westminster. I have 2 children, one who's a recent graduate of Adams 12 schools and one current student here in the district, who I'm very proud of. While I'm here in my personal capacity tonight, I would be remiss if I didn't also add that my day job is as state representative. I represent the city of Westminster, most of it, at the state capitol, and I also chair our state's budget committee. So issues of finance and school finance, of course, are high on my mind, knowing how important they are to all of our families, our communities, and all of our kids. Public education has always been very important to me, and I was a member back in, I think it was 2014, when the district commissioned another blue ribbon panel that studied the quality and condition of our facilities, took a good look at teacher compensation. I know the rigor that we had approached the issue with, and I know that that has happened again in this next iteration. The district has grown and evolved since I know I was part of that blue ribbon panel. And we have another matter before you now. And I'm here to urge you to refer this to the ballot for voters to consider. I think it's important that we invest in our schools. I will say the state, for the first time in a long time, did a lot of really good work living up to its part of the public financing of education, our responsibilities. But we all know that appropriate funding of our public schools requires a partnership. It's not just state funding. We require local investment as well. That's local investment in buildings, in teacher compensation. The state portion of this funding cannot satisfy and do all of this alone. We know that our state is, in fact, having an incredible teacher shortage. Compensation issues abound. Adams 12 isn't the only district, but to make that better and make sure that our school district remains competitive with other districts, to ensure that we can attract and retain the very best talent for our kids, we need to look at increasing teacher compensation, and I know that a mill levy override is a tool to accomplish that. We also know that we need updated instructional materials. We need relevant buildings in which to teach. You also need safe buildings. There's a bond that you're currently considering that will make sure that we upgrade our educational facilities so that they're safe. We have HVAC systems that work, rooftops that hold the snow and water away from our kids and actually keep them safe, so that as parents we know that our kids are safe and secure every day. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and again I urge you to refer this to the voters for their consideration.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Sarah Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. My name is Sarah Hughes, and I'm a community member. I'm also an alumna of North Glen High School and Silver Hills. Mr. Godowski was my superintendent for my entire career at Adams 12. And I guess the long and the short of it is thank you for investing in me. And I hope that you invest in other students too, because I realized that I wanted to be an engineer after I went to the engineering pathway at North Glen High School. And that's what made me realize that I wanted to be an engineer. And it only took, 4 years? Imagine what we could have done if it was in my middle school too. So thank you for investing in me. And now I want to invest my taxes, now that I'm grown, to help other kids like me figure out what they want to do with their lives. My younger brother went to Bowman and got his welding certification. And I am so incredibly proud of him. So I think just in my family, it goes to show that both the STEM career pathways that are really helping kids towards college programs and the vocational studies at Bowman, it helps schools treat every student like they matter, because they do matter. And my brother and I matter the same, whether or not we chose to go to college. So I think that we should move forward with the blueprint issue. I think we should pass the mill levy and the bond. I was in high school when the 2016 and 2018 mills and bonds were passed. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I remember feeling jealous because the students that came behind me would get that money. I wouldn't get that money. I wouldn't get to see what North Glen High School looked like in a little more updated, a little sexier version of North Glen High School. but that's okay, because I know that they're going to get better than I did. And these students, the ones behind them, will get better than they did. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
And our final speaker is Gabriela Chavez.
Hello, everyone. I am Gabby Chavez, and I live in Commerce City, and I am an RMP civic influencer. And you might be wondering why I'm here, since I do live in Commerce City, and I graduated from 27J schools. But I am here in support of the mill levy and bond on election overall this fall, because I graduated from a school district that hadn't passed a mill levy in over 20 years. It failed multiple times on the ballot, and I felt those effects as a student. I graduated in 2021, so 3 years ago, and now I'm a senior at DU. And so I see the effects compared to all other Colorado graduates at DU, especially from other school districts that have way better funding than Adams 12 and 27J. And I don't think it's fair. I think everyone deserves good education, and they shouldn't be limited by funding and money and just how everything else works out with government politics and what that looks like in school districts. But in general, I am an influencer. I'm a civic influencer, and I do work with the Adams 12 community and overall all of Adams County. And I have talked to a lot of Adams 12 community members, including students, and we seem to share the same experiences, even if they are in a different school district. And so I do think it's important to make sure that we are leveling the playing field and just making sure that those experiences are heard from the students and that we give them the best education possible. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay, board committee liaison. We just want to take a moment to review and confirm the assignment of board members as liaisons to key committees, specifically the FAC, the DAC, and the LRPAC. So on the FAC, we have had, I believe, Courtney and Alexis, and do you two want to continue doing that? Okay. And on the DAC, we have Paula? Just Paula, right? Yeah. All right, and then on the LRPAC, I've been on that, and I'm happy to keep doing that. And then, we also have other things that we, participate in, but these are the three that are the board committees. Any comments or questions? Okay. We don't need to vote on it. Okay, on to monitoring reports.
Quick, excuse me, quick question. Just given that I think most of our audience has interest, just given what public comment included around the blueprint plan, I wonder if it might be possible to do D1 and then come back to the monitoring reports after that's concluded.
Anybody have a problem with that? Okay, we're going to skip to D1, board business. Blueprint investment proposal. We have Bo, and we have Molly, and Joe, Megan, and Kim, I believe, or that's who's on here.
All right, I want to thank the superintendent for keeping us on our toes this evening with the agenda. Superintendent Godowski, board members, it's a pleasure to be with you tonight. It's actually more than a pleasure. It's a thrill because we get to share with you kind of our last and final update before you consider our blueprint priority and proposed investments. As you know, this is a culmination of almost 2 years worth of engagement throughout our system. We've talked to students, we've talked to parents, we've talked to community members, we've talked to staff members about what we envision what we want to see to make good on our commitment as part of our vision in Adams 12, that every student who leaves us is adequately and fully prepared to go out and thrive in a future of their choosing. What do we want to see in our buildings? What do we want to see in the programmatic opportunities that they have? And tonight we're happy to share with you some final updates before your consideration a week from tonight. Just a reminder that Blueprint was very intentionally done to think about facilities and programmatic opportunities in unison. Typically, when you see school districts consider bond and mill levy overrides, they think about them separately. We put a bond measure out because we need to add new buildings because we're growing as a district. Certainly was true for much of our history. We put out a mill levy override because there's new programmatic opportunities we want to provide with kids. As we embarked on this Blueprint journey, we were really intentional that we wanted to think about those investments synergistically. How does what we envision our buildings look like fit with what we want to offer students within those buildings? So that rather than doing them in isolation, really thinking about how they're connected. So you're going to hear and have heard some updates tonight around facilities and programmatic investments. And as we go through the presentation, we'll get very specific into how that interplay between those two investments work for the benefit of our students. One thing I really wanted to elevate for you and our audience tonight are the needs that drive these plans, and to do so in a very specific and concrete way that heretofore we haven't done with you. Right now, you've heard a lot of public comment tonight about the power of career tech opportunities in our system. Nearly 10% of our current high school students are interested in pursuing CTE courses and classes in our system. But unfortunately, they are waitlisted because we cannot yet offer enough sections to meet their demand. Sometimes that is because we don't have enough of the facilities and the equipment. Sometimes it's because we can't secure a second highly qualified CTE instructor. Sometimes it's both. But we certainly don't like knowing that we have kids that are raring to go and excited about pursuing a CTE class, and we're telling they have to wait because we can't accommodate them currently in our schedule. Right now, there are over 7,000 students across 23 of our elementary schools that don't access computer science as a regular part of their instructional day. That's because right now, the offering of computer science is based solely on the size of a school. You have a large enrollment at your school, we're able to add another section of programming, and we add computer science. Computer science, computational thinking, design thinking, it's becoming fundamental for this generation, and being able to get students started early on those skills and those competencies, be critical consumers of digital content, it's essential for them as they progress through our schools. We want to make sure that access is equitable across our system. We have over $600 million in critical maintenance needs over the next 5 years. You heard Chris give some history tonight. Next year is our 75th anniversary as a school district. 75 years of buildings, 75 years of growth, you end up accumulating some maintenance needs in your system. We kicked off the school year last week. We have 128 staff vacancies. Lots of comments tonight about how a single teacher can make all the difference in opening up excitement, pathways, seeing yourself in a whole new way. We want to be sure that we compete effectively and retain effectively the very best educators we can. And we need to be able to compete with our peer districts in ways that are meaningful and allow the very best teachers to be in our system. I want to make another connection here when we think about CTE expansion. When we are hiring for CTE instructors, we're hiring against different competitors. So when we're thinking about adding a third grade teacher or a middle school science teacher or a high school math teacher, we're competing against other folks that have gone through pre-education or worked in education to be teachers. When we want to hire a new cybersecurity teacher, we're competing against the NSA. We're competing against big tech. To pull in the instructors we want in front of our kids in those CTE, we have to be able to compete with those folks that know that content really well, but want to prepare the next generation. We've talked a lot about COVID pandemic era money drying up. We made a lot of investments with that federal support to add mental health support for our students, academic intervention support. Even though those dollars are drying up, the need for students, both academically and their mental health, their resilience, remains. We want to be able to sustain those extra supports. You're going to hear some really compelling reasons, and you have before, around how much we stand to save and how much the quality of our food improves if we are able to create a central warehouse in our district, rather than having to rely on a single company, the only player in town who's willing to deliver to over 50 different sites, to be able to have a central warehouse where we can go out and more competitively source our food. And then regular updates has always to critical safety systems. As we know more and do better in the safety space, we always want to be on the cutting edge and in front of all of that. So we're going to have 2 rounds of not full updates, because you've heard this many times over the past several months, but kind of a brief reminder and some new deeper dive details. First for the mill levy override, and then for the bond. And your tour guide for the details of the mill levy override is our new Chief Academic Officer, Megan Kane.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for an opportunity for us to continue to share with you the progress that we've made in our proposed mill levy override. In the first image, it's a reminder to us that we're looking to add elementary specialist classes specifically around the area of computer science in the schools that do not have the opportunity to offer 4 rounds of elective or specials offerings. We would like to add that addition. Some of those schools that do have those offerings right now, we will consider what might we add in addition to that, and those conversations are continuing to happen. The second is expanding our CTE and STEM opportunities to allow, particularly at the middle school levels, as you heard this evening, the importance of students having an opportunity to think about what might I be or what might I be interested in, and how might we expand those opportunities for them. And then lastly, this idea about investing in our world-class staff. Everything from securing a 2% pay raise for all of our educators to enticing staff that serves in our CTE space to teach within Adams 12, but to also maintain and sustain staff that we've been able to provide to our schools from ESSER funds post-pandemic. Just to go a little bit deeper into that dive, Title I student success compensation. We have went out this year to accelerate student success through an increased salary structure that reflects the expanded roles and responsibilities of teachers, particularly in our Title I schools, where we know it requires a significant investment of the adults to do the just right things to support our students within those schools. Our desire is to expand that to include all 15 schools over the course of the next 3 years. You can see here through the elementary, P8, and middle schools, which schools we would plan to continue to roll that out at. This year we are utilizing this structure at Thornton Elementary and Thornton Middle School simultaneously. And then through this program, what we would like to do then is create a framework and a structure to be implemented later at both Northglenn and Thornton High Schools, because we know those are our feeder systems that have the same needs. We just have to learn from this structure and think about, at a larger system at a comprehensive high school, how might we go about doing and expanding that type of work. The expansion of our CTE opportunities, our middle school exploratory CTE, we're really in the process right now of thinking about how might we expand that and thinking about the different types of pathways that are currently offered underneath that CTE experience for students. So our building leaders are currently engaging in conversation, both amongst themselves, with our CTE team at our central office, and then also with students. Where do their passion lie? What are things they're wanting to do? So you can see some things highlighted here. A couple of the ones that are really popping out right now are this agricultural and natural resource pathway, the business marketing entrepreneurship entrepreneurship and finance, as you heard some of our high school students speak about that, family and consumer sciences, and then this idea about design and fabrication labs, where that has a multitude of opportunities housed under there for our students. But we hope to get that list cinched up and closed up once we hear from all of our stakeholders. And then a deeper dive and expansion of the CTE opportunities at the high school level. Currently, right now, we have a high demand for several of our programs within automation and intelligence systems, engineering design and advanced manufacturing, and then our ProStart program, which not only do we want to expand, but we want to move from this building to one of our comprehensive high schools or CTE buildings. And then we'd like to add new options for some of the emerging industries that you heard some of our community partners discuss tonight around architectural design, aviation, cosmetology and barbering, and dental assistance. So what will happen if we don't have an opportunity to go out for our mill levy override? We won't be able to maintain our current staffing levels. We won't have equitable access to computer science at the elementary level. We won't have an inability to engage middle schoolers in exploring future career opportunities due to the lack of CTE courses. We will continue to be challenged in attracting and retaining and sustaining high-quality educators within Adams 12 at our most highly impacted schools, but also in competition with our districts that surround us. And then growing CTE waitlists in current high-demand classes will continue to be there, and limited ability to add those pathways that we are starting to see as emerging industries today. Thank you for your consideration, and I will now pass off to our Chief Operating Officer to talk about our proposed bond.
Thank you, Megan. $830 million without raising taxes. What an impact that is going to have on our system. This is to remind you of the items we've been talking about over the past few months and the investments. The top row is our renewal. It's where our critical facility updates such as roofs, plumbing, parking lots, middle school fields, HVAC, playgrounds. This is where our buildings remain warm, safe, dry, relevant, as you heard today. This is also where we housed our investments for school connectivity and IT infrastructure. We have also in here shown an icon for school safety. Nothing is more important than the safety of our students and our staffs as they come into our buildings every day. And we want to make sure we invest fully in their safety, both physically and with push-button door locks, but also things like cell service being improved in our schools. And as you look at the bottom row, I want to spend some time. This is where our rebuild and reimagine of our facilities can happen. And if you look at the first bucket of Thornton High School, rebuilding and remodernizing Thornton High School could be a win for our entire community and such needed space. This is our largest single investment in the bond at $236 million. And it's not surprising knowing that the price per square foot for construction has almost doubled since the last time we went out for a bond in 2016. This project would not only upgrade and modernize the school building as it's reached its operational end of life, but by rebuilding the school, we're going to ensure high quality and functional learning for decades to come. Second, I'd like to just mention career and tech education. As you heard tonight and what Megan talked about with the mill levy override, this bucket really houses the facility investments that are needed to achieve that and to meet that vision. This has 2 large facility projects, and completing these would help us, like you heard, reduce wait lists, expand options for kids in career-focused courses, and build out our CTE space at the secondary level. Finally, the last 2, build a central warehouse and scratch kitchen and expand preschool classrooms. This need has come after regulatory changes in the state of Colorado with universal preschool and universal meals, so healthy school meals for all. And it's time to invest in our facilities to meet those needs and access for our students. What's new in the bond? So before I go into the 3 areas that we've added into the bond since you've last heard our updates, these are not new ideas. These are ideas that were floated with you in December, last spring. And I think it's important to note and stamp for us today that none of these investments listed change the investments we talked about before. These are additions. How'd we get there? They were added based on expected market and economic conditions. We anticipate to receive a conservative estimate of about $100 million in premium and interest over the life of the bond. And as we look at that, these 3 investment areas on the screen would be about 28% of that expected amount. So we feel like the risk would be very low. And I think if you look at these, as you hear the explanations of these 3 investment categories, there are 3 areas that would be very impactful to our students and have an impact district-wide. The first is building a central kitchen. We've been talking about a warehouse, and you heard Bo talk about that earlier, but we haven't been talking about the menu side of things. And Sarah Grunow is here today, and she is our Director of Nutrition Services, and it is her dream and mine as a dietitian for my entire career and spending 13 years in school nutrition prior to this role. We have dreams of students coming in and having a learning experience in our cafeterias. Think about the senses that they feel when they see a menu item, the things that they can experience, the courage it takes to try something new. These are things they can learn even during lunchtime, breakfast time. Pretty exciting. We also dream of taking students on field trips to see where the meal they ate came from. With this, it is a community investment. We can invest in local farmers. We can bring their food to the plates and to our students to consume, to learn, and that's an exciting investment, what we can do. Another thing that's really possible with the central kitchen and having a more scratch-made menu would be that we would have control over ingredients and allergens. That is a huge win. We could take a cheese sauce today that's 21 ingredients and change that to 5 or less and have it out the door in 2 days to our students. We could really have something that is a true Adams 12 product. The other items I want to list are just as important and nothing more relevant than these 90-degree weeks. Air conditioning. As you heard, we built buildings and air conditioning wasn't throughout. And there are some spaces that are at times the hottest in the building, not only because of the temperature due to lack of air conditioning, because of what students do in those areas, our gyms and our cafeterias. We have 4 cafeterias that are still without air conditioning that we'd like to add into the bond in this proposal, and we're doing that tonight. In addition to, we currently have 18 gyms in the district without air conditioning. If you think about the physical activity that happens in that room, period after period, and what happens in those spaces before and after school, in our summer programming, it is now needed. Climate has changed in Colorado, and the comfort level in those spaces is not great. We would like to add 12 schools, air conditioning in their gyms, and 4 in their cafeterias through this proposal. Finally, I want to end with, without the bond, we would need to use additional general fund dollars to address critical maintenance and safety components. This means fewer dollars available, right, for programming and other needs. We would have increased disruption to our daily learning due to our failing systems, roofs, plumbing, heating, cooling. We'd have continued deterioration of Thornton High School, unwelcoming and unproductive learning environment. We'd continue to have these increased food delivery costs and the uncertainty of food distributor partnerships. We wouldn't have the opportunity to have our kids see where their meals come from, to invest in our community farmers. We'd have the inability to convert space and expand our preschool and CTE offerings. We'd have interrupted learning and safety concerns due to more unscheduled tech outages, and we'd have furniture that doesn't support our 21st century learning model. And with that, I will pass it off to Bo to continue our presentation.
Wait, Molly, can I ask a quick question? Maybe in your favorite category here, nutrition. I'm not going to pretend to be a gardener, but I do know that when I cook more healthy from scratch type foods, the shelf life of the food is not great, especially when you're removing a lot of those preservatives. Is there a plan in place if we bring that central kitchen in this capacity for the leftover food, the produce that wasn't used, things like that?
Absolutely. We would definitely have that as a plan as we build out that model logistically. And in our standard operating procedures, we would make sure that, one, the food is safe, right? Without preservatives, you can still have safe, healthy food. It's just about timing, how you preserve it, not using the chemical way, right? We would have definitely a chef on board and make sure that our food and recipes are quality and taking into account the shelf life that is needed in our system. And we would have to plan all of those, and we are starting that work and thinking now, hoping for a great result in November so that we can hit the ground running.
Thank you.
Okay.
Going to refresh your minds to some very concrete examples on how both of these investment proposals work in tandem to yield the best possible results for our students. So we've heard a lot tonight, and it's been a primary feature throughout our Blueprint journey, the importance of expanding opportunities in both career and tech ed and STEM fields. And so part of that contemplates we have to have the spaces, and they're unique spaces that allow for CTE and STEM exploration. These aren't typical classroom spaces. These are unique spaces that have ventilation, power needs, can be quite large when you think about aviation opportunities. We have to provide spaces to do that. At our middle schools, we'll need to convert some classrooms to add some of this infrastructure that's necessary for these CTE pathways to be added at the middle school. So that's on the facilities side. Then we want to make sure that we have the materials, the programming, the expertise in terms of instruction to make that space flourish the way it's intended to. So computer science, we will need to think about what's the curriculum that's appropriate for a 5-year-old versus an 11-year-old and all the ages in between. What do we want at CTE when it comes to the pathways, but also the instructors? A lot of these CTE pathways require expertise that's atypical of a typical teacher pathway. We have to hire those people. And then as we think about the high school expansion, it's the materials, it's the curriculum, it's the talent to make it happen. So spaces that allow for this, and really good materials, resources, and instructor talent to make it thrive. And board members, I had meant to warn you of this next piece tonight in work study, but I didn't. Something we do in this building all the time now, the George W. Bailey Learning Center, is we work with staff on professional learning, and when there's a really important concept or slide that we say we want to stamp or underscore, we have it read aloud for everyone. And this is a good opportunity for board participation tonight. So we have a few slides that are quotes from people within our system, parents, community members, that talk about the importance of these investments, starting with our welding instructor at Washington Square, Glenn Ashley, who is the brave board member who's going to read aloud what Mr. Ashley had to say.
I'll start because I know Mr. Ashley.
And this is not the only one. Don't worry, if you wanted a turn, you will get a turn as well.
CTA creates a path for students where they didn't have one before. A lot of students come in with little to no idea about where they'd like to go, and that changes rapidly when they have these experiences. Our CTE programs are very intensive, and they help students wake up to new possibilities.
Thank you. Very well done. Okay. This is number 2 from one of our community partners and business owners. Who'd like to read this one?
I'll step up to the plate.
Okay.
We have found that CTE courses in high school are the foundation upon which skilled trades, like Diesel Repair Thrive. They empower non-college bound students to harness their potential and drive their future success in industries that are truly needed to keep our economy moving. And this was by Austin White, owner of Iron Buffalo.
Thank you. So that's one example. My colleague Joe Ferdani is going to share another with you.
And we have 2 more quotes, so get ready to volunteer for those. So when we're talking about safe, comfortable, and welcoming environments, it's really about, as we've talked about and you've heard tonight, investing both in the physical and human capital. And that we want to attract top-tier talent. That requires competitive compensation. But it also includes a physical environment that allows them to shine at their best. And that's not just for staff, but also for students to have those 3D printing machines that they can access. And not only that, that we have HVAC systems and roofs that are stable and that can protect those 3D printers from overheating or leaks from the roof. And so really creating that physical and human capital that is at its best, as well as just demonstrating to our students, our families, that they're valued, they're welcome when they come into a well-lit school, a school that's got fresh paint, new carpet, that we're engaging them and inspiring them to learn and succeed. So really having those 2 aspects work together. So any volunteers for
Go down the line.
our STEM lab parent?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Actually, I'm also a STEM lab parent, so it's appropriate. Investing in school infrastructure is not just about buildings and classrooms, it's about creating a second home for our children. Just as we prioritize the safety, comfort, and welcoming atmosphere of our own homes, we should also ensure that schools are equipped to provide a nurturing environment where learning thrives. Allison, parent, STEM Lab.
Thank you. Okay, and one more from Alicia Sack at Century Middle School.
I grew up in Adams 12 5-star schools and knew it was exactly where I wanted to be when I became a teacher. With competitive pay, teachers can afford to live where their students and family lives, and that only makes the connections and relationships stronger, both inside and outside of the classrooms. Teachers learn the most about their students and families by being immersed in the communities in which they live.
Okay, thank you both. We've updated you previously on just the community engagement that's led up to this proposal, which has been more than a year now in terms of conversations with various stakeholders within our community. And we've been from surveys and task force and polls and websites and different literature, just continuing to keep getting input from our community, as well as reporting back in terms of what we're hearing and what the potential investments are that are being contemplated through both the proposed bond and mill levy override. One of the key places for that engagement, as well as finding detailed information, has been our open house website. We've got the address up there. That also most recently has the addition of our district map, and you can go into any school within the district and find detailed proposed investments there, both in terms of programming as well as facilities. So that continues to be a high traffic area where many of our community members are going to learn more about Blueprint. And then finally, I will have Bo just close us out here.
So we've been giving you updates for the past several months, and we get into the weeds sometimes, the minute details of this, and I think it's important as we near the finish line that we take a minute and talk about the why behind this. And for me, it's a story of past, present, and future. Boards before you over the history of our district and taxpayers in this community have at different times contemplated further local investments in our system. When taxpayers have said, yes, that's a good investment, we've benefited as a community. Sometimes it yields a superintendent to come back and serve in the district that he went through. Other times today, I had the pleasure of being at the foundation. We graduate people that end up opening new businesses, serving in high-ranking roles in businesses, hire our graduates, invest in our community. That's the past, and I heard it and I've seen it loud and clear the past several months. Because of opportunities for new schools, new programming, people thrived and continue to thrive in our community, locally, nationally, with distinction in our military, because there have been opportunities afforded them over time through investments that I would say end up paying off tenfold down the line here and beyond. That's the past. The present and the future, I'm going to let students speak because they do it far better than any of us can. But as we think about this, it's really so that the next superintendent, the next entrepreneur, the next Army general, the next so many awesome Adams 12 alumnus have the opportunity to make good on all the comments we heard tonight and be everything that is possible for them. And I'm going to let these students who were featured at the kickoff that was mentioned earlier today kind of sum up why these kind of investments and this kind of future thinking is so important.
What makes me proud of being a part of the STEM Launch community is the perseverance for my education and well-being. Also, the diversity of the community there and support for exploring and expressing the ways of my culture.
So I'm here today not just as a graduate, but as someone whose life was changed, whose course was altered by the experiences and opportunities offered by Adams 12. My junior and senior years at Future Forward CTE classes that I discovered the path that truly resonated with me. Attending Future Forward was like stepping into a new world of possibility. The construction classes that I took there were not merely about learning skills or a trade. They were about uncovering a passion and finding a true sense of purpose. Your commitment to fostering an environment where students can try new things and take risks is invaluable.
I had the privilege of attending Vantage Point's first concurrent enrollment college class. And today I can happily say I'm a Becher Scholar.
I moved to the United States on July 15, 2021. Being a high school junior was difficult. Day by day, school became more enjoyable. I found friends and learned about their cultures and religions. Teachers were friendly and funny. They always tried to help me, even though my English was very limited at the time. I truly appreciate all my teachers who stood by me to help me to achieve my goals. Graduating from Thornton High School was a dream come true.
To me, Washington Square was my safe place to try new things and see what I liked and transform myself into the person I want to grow up to be. But if it wasn't for Mr. Cooper, I would not be the person standing here today. He was my construction teacher for 3 years, and it's thanks to him that I am a back-to-back Skills USA state champion for plumbing. And with all the lessons I learned along the way, I am proud that I have recently received an MTech Experience Award as a first-year apprentice. No student could have ever done it on their own, and that is where you teachers and staff commitment and consistency comes in. You are all one team, transforming all these students to be the best version of themselves.
It's okay if you want to clap. I mean, I think it's worth it. We've got a lot of folks here that have been integral to the work and know a lot of the details around both the mill levy override and bond investments. If you have questions, I don't know if you noticed, if you have an opportunity to watch this again, I think Chris's reaction and his jaw dropping to The last statement of the student there is probably the most awe-inspiring. I think we were all sitting there on stage as she delivered that. She was the first speaker of the day, and boy, it was tough to follow after that. She was really outstanding. So happy to answer questions if you have them. We've got a lot of folks on staff tonight that are available if you have those, because we want to make sure you have all your questions answered before you consider this next Wednesday night.
Questions?
I just have one comment. Sharing some of this information at back to school nights, it was really exciting to see the parents in my community of South Thornton, how excited they were about a potential new high school, and talking about how this will give their kids opportunities that they didn't have, and that every parent wants that for their kid. And it was just so exciting to talk to them. And I didn't grow up in this community, and so getting to be with parents who have, and our kids attending school together, or seeing them at the grocery store, or seeing them at different places than our little South Thornton area, it was just so cool. And even one parent who says he never votes and will not vote, is committed to voting for these two measures. So it's really, yeah, you guys did a lot of great work.
Any other questions? It's been fun to be a part of the LRPAC the last couple of years and watch this journey.
You're here. Thank you for the time. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. You do have the proposed ballot language in your packets to read over, but will there possibly be some edits to?
So what we have in the packet is the language that we would propose be certified. So if you have questions or proposed changes to that language, it would be helpful to hear that tonight. We also have, I see in the back of the room, Maddie, who has lots of investment knowledge and background, who can answer technical questions about how all of this fits together.
Any questions? Okay, well, address this next week. Thank you, guys.
What would you think about like a 5-minute break?
Sure. 5 minutes. All right, kids, do we want to get going again? Of course, we can get going. You guys can carry on. Oh, Paula. We're missing one.
Okay. I'm feeling the air a little bit now, maybe because less people are in here.
Could be.
Yeah, I think they moved the AC down to 69, but sometimes it takes a while to get going, so sorry that's been a little stuff.
No, it's okay. I mean, I'm like this all the time. Seriously, like, my kids walk in the house, or Kyle walk in and put on their sweatshirt right away.
All right, we're going to go back to monitoring reports. Internal monitoring report, Operation Limitations Policy 2.1, treatment of students, their families, and community members. I will entertain a motion to acknowledge that the board has received a monitoring report as of August 21st, 2024, for the period July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, of the superintendent concerning board policy 2.1, treatment of students, their families, and community members, and finds the superintendent's interpretations are reasonable and supported by data that is relevant, justified, and complete. I entertaining a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bana.
Superintendent Godowski, board members. That truly is a tough act to follow, the blueprint presentation, and I see the audience agrees with that. In terms of the report, just want to offer a few summary comments, and then I'm more than happy to entertain any questions you might have. The first thing I wanted to point out, and I believe Joe Fordani addressed this on the first page, if you did not notice, the participation in the family survey significantly decreased. It went down a little over, well, not quite 1,100 responses. I believe Joe talked a little bit about that in the spring, but I wanted to just bring that up to your attention. And also, in talking with members of the communication staff, they mentioned one of the prime factors they believe for that decrease was the survey window didn't fall within all schools' conferences. Schools had a choice of when they held their winter conferences, and that's where many schools drum up support for that survey. They have QR codes. They ask parents to respond to the survey at that time. So we feel that was a pretty significant impact on the response rate, particularly in the southern end of the district, where many of those people don't respond, many of those community members don't respond to that survey. So I just wanted to point that out. So the communications department is thinking about ways to make sure we don't run into that situation again this year. Also related to the survey, one thing that is not necessarily clear in the report, but generally the data overall on that survey was positive last winter-ish. And all the questions that were included in this report were either an increase or stable performance. So I just wanted to call that out in terms of the panorama data. Also on page 6, if you look at this, deals with the disproportionality data. We found to be just partially in compliance here. In terms of suspension, there was disproportionate out-of-school suspension of Hispanic and Latino students and multilingual learners. And in terms of expulsions, it was Hispanic, Latino students, males, and multilingual learners. Just for context, the last 4 years, we've seen in each of those years, Hispanic students and multilingual learners disproportionately suspended and expelled compared to the state. So those groups are persistent. Other groups come in and out. So I wanted to reference that. So wanted to make sure you had some idea there that we only report partial compliance in that area. If you then go to page 9, there were a number, as you look at policy wording 2.1.5, there are a number of complaints that are listed there with some information, 6 in terms of district, federal, or state complaints, and then 1 to the appeal to the Board of Education. However, we are finding that we're complying with the standard because we have addressed those complaints or will be addressing the complaint that came in very late. And then finally, on page 10, there's some information. Typically, what we report here in the section under facilities data, typically we're reporting on the bond, the investments that we're making on the bond. Obviously, given when the bond was passed and us potentially looking at a new bond, there's not much to report there. There's not that many funds left, but Margie Amon was kind enough to give me a number of these investments that have been made at a number of schools around safety and well-being for those structures. So I wanted to mention that, even though not all of them are directly tied to priorities of the bond. At this point, I'd like to address potentially any questions you may have.
Anybody have any? Paul?
Paula. I have a question around, you've already mentioned the disproportionality around expulsion and suspension rates, and I really appreciate that transparency and the table that you all provide at the back as well. What I would like to know is what we've done to sort of explore this issue in the past and what the plans are moving forward in the future. I understand that we're sort of still in line to some degree with what's happening at the state, but I would like to see us still take this as an area that needs attention, and see how, just understand how we're working to address it.
Right. What I would share from my role, I know I've worked with Lori Bailey and her team in terms of examining these data to look at the information. One thing I can say, when you compare the rates from the 21-22 data to the 22-23 data, while those multilingual learners and Hispanic students do are disproportionately disciplined, those rates are coming down, the gaps are closing a little bit. So we are seeing incremental progress, not as much progress as we would like to see. I know Marie McKenzie and her leadership role in terms of the Department of Equity is significantly focused on this. And so I know those two departments are really working and collaborating on this. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of specifics, but I can definitely look into that, connect with those departments, and see what we can do to provide you with more specific, concrete information.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we're ready to vote. Unless, do you want to add anything, Chris? Okay.
Director Assad Lucas.
Aye.
Director Battistelli.
Aye.
Director Goldstein.
Aye.
Director Marsh Holshin.
Aye.
Director Potter.
Aye.
Okay, internal monitoring report, operating limitations policy 2.4, financial condition and activities. I will entertain a motion to acknowledge that the board has received a monitoring report as of August 21st, 2024, for the period July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, of the superintendent concerning board policy 2.4, financial condition and activities, and finds the superintendent's interpretations are reasonable and supported by data that is relevant, justified, and complete. So moved.
Second.
Okay. Hello, Aaron.
Good evening, board. Thanks for having me tonight. We have what comes before you is not only just the monitoring report, but it's a statutory duty to look at the quarterly financials and get a quarterly financial report. I just have really a couple quick things to talk about. I know that Stephanie has been told that I also only get 3 minutes. So what I tell my team is that the key to good communication is brevity, and I do not follow that. So I will attempt to tonight. Okay, similar to the things that we've discussed really over the last year with you in looking at this overall monitoring report, and I want to highlight 2 or 3 different things. The first is, as we end the fiscal year ended June 30th, we continue to close the books. The books will be closed at the end of this month, the end of August, and we are already well into our audit season. Part of that is continuing to look at the fund balance and reserves and meeting the requirement of the minimum 4% of unassigned fund balance, which we have done. When we look at cash positions, investments, and liquidity. What I will say here is the state did a fantastic thing for us all this last year, which started in July. We are now receiving our state share over 9 months instead of 12. And if that doesn't sound like a big thing, it's actually $54+ million more money being received to the district before February, which is a huge issue for us around liquidity. In other words, by the time we get to February, we have $54 million more in cash available to us without having to rely on waiting for property taxes to come in. When we look at accounts payable, accounts receivable, we're doing a lot of training in the department to make sure everyone is up to speed on all of the statutory, regulatory, and other federal changes that have happened over the last few years. We continue to do that training. We continue to make sure that everyone is up to speed on what their statutory requirements are. We've done quite a bit of talk about the bonds and tracking of the bonds. I think what is a good preview, should both the bond and the MLO pass, that you know that this is something that we will just continue doing, where we have already been monitoring the bonds, we've been tracking the MLO and how those investments have been spent, and we'll continue that should those come to fruition. Talked a little bit about the audit and the audit starting. The only piece I want to add 3 things around the audit. We will have the audit wrapped up by October 31st, and so we're very committed with our auditors to ensure that we meet that date. The audit includes, and I think this is important for the board to understand, especially now before we get the audit complete, it includes an audit report on the internal control over financial reporting. So really taking a look at our overall internal controls and in compliance over federal awards. You may think, well, ESSER is done, you have no more compliance over federal awards. We do. So IDEA is one of our major programs this year that we are taking a hard look on how we are spending those monies and that we are in compliance with federal guidance. There is also a federal communications grant that we've also received, and that is our other major program, just south of $8 million. And so both of those together, close to $15 million, where the auditors are paying special attention related to internal control. What I would also say is this will be a really fun year between now and finishing this audit and into next year. We have 5 new accounting standards, so that's a lot of fun. Lots to research, which I just love to do. I'm just being sarcastic. That's actually something I love to do. And we also have a brand new implementation guide, which impacts us. And we also have brand new uniform guidance related to grants that comes into play on October 1st. So as I talked about, not only on accounts payable, but also payroll and all of these pieces on internal control, we appreciate the amount of investment and time that we are given in order to do our own PD within our department so that we are understanding how these pieces impact the district. Again, on the quarterly financial statements, those pieces you have, and we've provided those quarterly financials to you as a part of our statutory duties. The big piece here is the end of the year forecast. It's really kind of important to know right now where we've ended up, because as October comes into play, October really begins for us the kickoff of the brand new budget year. So having knowledge about where we ended up, where we're forecasting to end up, becomes that kickoff for the budget planning for 25, 26. Any questions?
Any questions? Comments?
Director Assad Lucas.
Aye.
Director Battistelli.
Aye.
Director Goldstein.
Aye.
Director Marsh-Holschen.
Aye.
Director Potter.
Aye.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, back to board business. Go on to DACFAC and LRPAC membership. I will entertain a motion to approve the membership rosters for the DAC and updated LRPAC for 2024, 2025, and to appoint members to the FAC as presented.
So moved.
Second?
All right, Joe?
Okay, real quickly, tonight what's before you is approving 33 new members and then as well as the returning members for the 3 board committees. Just brief background, recruiting took place in the spring for our board committees. Have a multi-pronged approach to that in terms of it's in 5-Star News. We send a standalone recruitment email out, and then we have email invitations that we send to alumni of 5-Star Leadership Academy and our other parent groups. And then at the last session of the 5-Star Leadership Academy and Lavos 5-Star, we have a volunteer fair, and part of what we talk about there is opportunities to take the next step in terms of getting involved in the district. Then we collect those applications and then send them to the committee leads for each of the board committees. So one of the things we always strive to have is representation from all of our director districts, and we're really pleased that this year we got applications from every director district. So with that, if you have any questions before you approve, I'm happy to answer those.
Anybody?
Director Assad Lucas.
Aye.
Director Battistelli.
Aye.
Director Goldstein.
Aye.
Director Marsh-Holschen.
Aye.
Director Potter.
Aye.
Okay,
Can I just make one quick after-the-fact comment on that? I think about when I first started in the legal seat 18 years ago in the district, and DSAT was about a 4-person to 6-person group at the time, most of the time. DAC has since taken its place and obviously has a lot of members, many who return every year, and then others, obviously, who want to onboard. We didn't have a long-range planning group at all. You would just pull people together ad hoc in the summer before a bond measure was proposed, and then they would go away. And we had no finance and audit group whatsoever. So in terms of this community partnership piece, I'm grateful for the work pushing us on the staff side to create more of those structures, and for a variety of folks on staff, including communications and nurturing those structures and making it meaningful for parents. We really made huge strides over the last 18 years in that space.
yes, the importance of community participation and the willingness of them wanting to do it shows how well we do things.
Well, and again, even going back to accountability, it's an opportunity for us to be held accountable. But I mean, like even with FAC, it was developed after, well, with the last mill and how successful it's been tracking those dollars and being accountable to the public and the report. So yeah, I think these are really great partnerships.
Okay, on to election official. I will entertain a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreements between Adams 12 5-Star Schools Board of Education and the Adams County Clerk and Recorder and the board and the city and county of Broomfield as presented for the purpose of conducting a coordinated election to be held on November 5th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
So this is paving the way for if we choose to put the mill and bond on the ballot that we can.
Director Assad Lucas.
Aye.
Director Battistelli. Aye. Director Goldstein?
Aye.
Director Marsh-Holshin? Aye. Director Potter?
Aye.
Okay, proclamation, Hispanic Heritage Month. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the proclamation declaring September 15th to October 15th, 2024, Hispanic Heritage Month in Adams 12 five-star schools.
So move.
Second.
Comments?
Director Assad Lucas?
Aye.
Director Battistelli? Aye. Director Goldstein?
Aye.
Director Marsh-Holshin? Aye. Director Potter?
Aye.
All right, CASB proposed resolutions. We had talked about this last spring. There's a deadline of next week to get these in to CASB for the upcoming delegate assembly, or whatever we call it, in October. And Chris had expressed an interest in addressing mill levy override equity. And then also, as a result of the House facility near Stuckey Elementary, maybe taking another look at how legislation influences the guidelines around that. So you have those two drafts. Are there any, well, I guess I have to read the motion first. To approve, I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed resolutions for submission to CASB for the 2024 Delegate Assembly as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, now, are there any comments on the first one, on the mill levy override equity, of things that you might want to change? I think the staff did a great job of taking the thoughts and putting them down in a statement that's pretty well ready to go.
I think it looks really great.
Okay, how about the other one on the mental health residential facilities?
I also think this one looks really good, especially considering how much we heard from the community. I think it's great that we are taking this to a bigger issue. It happened in our backyard. I'm sure not a lot of other districts aren't even thinking about it. So letting them know that, hey, this could happen to you too, and being a unified voice would be great.
Any other comments?
Director Assad Lucas?
Aye.
Director Battistelli?
Aye.
Director Goldstein?
Aye.
Director Marsh-Holshin?
Aye.
Director Potter?
Aye.
Okay, and if anybody wants to point out some things to our delegate, I believe is Amira, for talking points when we get down the road.
When is that?
It's October, I want to say it's like the second or third week of October. It's in Pueblo.
Okay. We might have it because we'll talk.
Okay. All right. Minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting on June 5th, 2024, and the minutes of the work study session on June 5th, 2024, as presented.
So move.
Second.
Comments?
Director Assad Lucas?
Aye.
Director Battistelli?
Aye.
Director Goldstein?
Aye.
Director Marsh-Holshin? Aye. Director Potter?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the personnel actions as listed, resignations and terminations, transfers and reassignments, employment and leaves of absence.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Director Assad Lucas?
Aye.
Director Battistelli?
Aye.
Director Goldstein?
Aye.
Director Marsh-Holshin?
Aye.
Director Potter?
Aye.
Okay, calendar. Next Wednesday, our special board meeting, 7 o'clock. Then we have a board meeting on September 4th. And some of the agenda items are listed below. We also are going to talk about attendance awareness month that week. Then third Wednesday, you can see the topics here. And then we get to meet with the principals. We do this once a year, a representative group of principals. That will be September 25th. Is there anything else anybody wants to add? Okay. If there's no objection, we are adjourned.